Alright, sensitive men. In August 2004, Time magazine reported on a survey of men's attitude, voted that young men are more comfortable than older men talking about their problems. The survey reported that 80 of 129 surveyed, 18 to 24-year-old men, and 98 of 184, 25 to 34-year-old men said they were comfortable. What do you think? Is Time's interpretation justified by these numbers? Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a hypothesis test. Okay. So we're comparing two proportions. So we're going to do a two-proportion hypothesis test. So what are our parameters? Well, we got P sub y is the proportion of young men comfortable talking about the problems and I'm going to do P sub O, proportion of older men comfortable. Well, you may be saying, well, they're not really old men. No, they're not, but they're older. Okay. So we got a younger group and an older group. So that's what we're comparing. Okay. So that's what our parameters are in this problem. The hypotheses are going to be P sub y. Actually, let me put this H sub O. The null hypothesis is that P sub y equals P sub O, and now Time magazine made a statement that younger men are more comfortable talking about their problems. So this is going to be a one-tailed test. The alternative hypothesis is that younger men are more comfortable than older men. It didn't say is there evidence of a difference. It said, so we're assuming that younger men, the proportion is going to be higher. Okay. So now we got to do the assumptions. You got a random. It does not say that the samples are random, so we're going to assume that the samples were representative. Okay, the 10% condition, 129 and a 184 are both less than 10% of all men in their age groups. Got it. And then we got independent samples. And okay, these groups were chosen independently. And then we got success failure. Okay, so for the young guys, so NP hat for the young guys, let's see, there were 80 of them that were comfortable. So that means that NQ hat would have to be 129 minus 80 is 49. Both are greater than 10. And NP hat for the older guys, there were 98 of them that were comfortable. So NQ hat, this is young, this is old. NQ hat for the older guys, there were 184 of them minus 98. So that means there's 86 of those guys. So I'm just going to put all greater than 10. Okay, so we're good to go there, okay? Name the test. This is a two-prop hypothesis test. Okay. Our test statistics. Okay. So P hat of y is going to be 80 out of 129. And that's going to be 0.62. So Q hat sub y is going to be 0.38. And N sub y was 129. Okay. And P hat for the older guys is going to be 98 divided by 184. That's 0.53. So Q hat for the older guys is going to be 0.47. Number of older guys is 184. We're going to do P pooled, and that's going to be 80 plus 98, okay, over 129 plus 184. Okay, so if we do that, 80 plus 98 is 178, and on the bottom we got 184, 313. So we got to do 178 divided by 313. Okay, and if we do that, you get about 0.569. So 0.569. So Q pooled is 0.431. Okay. So obtain P. So Z is going to equal, on top, I'm going to do the young guys first. So I'm going to do 0.62 minus 0.53 minus 0, because we assume there's no difference, over. Now I got to add the variances, so I'm going to do P pooled, Q pooled, over the young guys is 129, plus P pooled, Q pooled, 569.431 over 184. Okay, at this point we're going to go to calculator, and we're going to go to test, and we're going to go to prop Z test. So for the first guys, it was 80 out of 129, and then it was 98 out of 184. And we're going to assume that the younger guys is greater than, and we're going to draw that up. So we got z-score of 1.54ish, and p equals 0.0619. Okay. So we're going to draw this up, and we get z equals 1.54, and we're just going to shade that in. P equals 0.0619. So we make a decision. We fail to reject H of O. Sorry, fail to reject H of O. So what does that mean? That means there is no evidence that the proportion of younger men comfortable sharing their feelings is greater than the proportion of older men comfortable to share their feelings. Since we didn't reject the null here, we're not going to do a confidence interval. Okay, if we did reject the null, then we would try to find out what that difference was. But since we did not reject the null here, we will not proceed to do that step.